Hey guys, it's me, Sydney. I am back today and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about how to save money for travel. So people are always, asking me, how do you save so much money for travel? How are you able to see all these places? And a lot of the main reason I'm able to do this is because I prioritize travel in my savings. So I hate to say it, but to do any of these things, even these tips I'm about to give you, you have to make travel a priority and you have to make travel one of the things you most want to do if you're going to be able to travel as much as you would like to. So I'm going to give you 6 tips on how to do this. There's no tried and true way. Of course, there's tons of resources out there about how to save money, how to spend your money, how to budget, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a financial advisor by any means, but I'm going to tell you ways that I've saved money and have been able to travel successfully. So the first tip I'm going to give you, I'm going to share with you, is a little tip that I used to travel back when I was in college and had no money. I mean, I was flat broke. I was working at Jimmy John's like 20 hours a week, living off tips and $5 an hour. So yeah, not a lot of money. I was a college student, but I was still able to travel a pretty good bit. And the way I did this was with my tip money. Every night when I would come home at like 2 a.m., I had like 6 envelopes and they were all labeled different things. One was labeled utilities, one was labeled rent, one was labeled travel savings, and then one was labeled like barn food, and then the other was just like another savings like plan that I had to have or something, like just another like general savings. And so on each of those envelopes every month I would write my goal. So my rent was $400 a month, so I wrote on that envelope $400, and then every night if I put in $20 I would minus 20, so now I only owed $380. The next night I put in 40 and then I only owed $320 on it, so my rent would slowly go down. Then when my rent was all done, I would put that to the side and I would add to my really focus on making my travel savings grow, and that really worked. I also, at the end of each of those months, I would put all of my travel savings money into a like empty wine bottle, like a big jug, and put it underneath my bed so that I couldn't get it unless I broke the wine bottle open. So it was kind of like forced me to not go in and touch that, because I knew that if it was in my bank account or if it was in just that envelope that I would take from it to go to the bar or whatever it was. So yeah, but by doing those envelopes, I was able to, set that $400 goal for my rent and my travel savings every month. And by doing that, I mean, I wasn't able to travel luxuriously by any means, don't get me wrong, but I was able to save and do a little bit of backpacking and travel while I was in college. Alright, the second tip that I have for you to save money on travel is to stop spending money on stupid shit. I'm really bad about this. I spend money on stupid things all the time, like just for no reason. Like I love to spend money. I love shopping. But when I have a plan in mind, like if I know that I'm going on vacation somewhere, if I go to the store and I'm like, oh, I would really love this new rug, and this new rug is $120, I'm like, you know what, $120 literally is a flight from Orlando to London if you catch it at the right time. It's like, so I'm not gonna buy this. I'd rather fly to London. So you kind of have to start thinking of things like that. Just, do you really need a juicer? Do you really need all of this shit that you buy? Do you need all these clothes? Do you need there's so much crap that we just buy just to consume it, when really we don't need any of it. My biggest thing is I love spending money on clothes. That's like my one luxury expense that I will spend money on, just because I love fashion, and to me that's also considered a part of my business, because I talk about fashion on the blog, and I'm posting photos of my outfits, and I make money off of that. So to me, like, buying clothes is part of my business. It's a little unjustified, but that's my one thing, and everybody has their one thing, but you just have to think about something before you buy it and say, do I really need this, or am I just buying this because I'm a consumer and this is the world that we've grown up in? This sort of ties into number 3, and I already slightly mentioned it, but you have to look at your spending differently. So you have to say, when you go out to dinner with all of your friends and you get a $20 cocktail, you have to say, this $20 cocktail is literally a round-trip flight from Pisa to Paris. You know, and I know it's only $20, and I'm not saying to not go out to dinner with your friends, because I always, the experience, but do you need the $20 cocktail, you know? Do you have to go for the drinks afterwards? Or do you have to drink at all, you know? Or can you eat beforehand and then meet them up for drinks? You know, you have to look at your spending differently. You have to look and say, okay, well, if I buy this $250 juicer, that right there is, you know, that could be, you know, a nice night at a really nice hotel, wherever. You know, if you spend $1,000 on some product, you know, that is, you know, that's 4 nights and at a nice hotel in Paris. I mean, you know, so you have to kind of justify, I mean, $1,000, that'll get you 2 weeks in Thailand probably. You know, so you have to really, you know, look at what you're spending and think of it differently. I always like to think of everything that I'm spending in terms of what it would cost when I'm traveling. So if I'm going out to dinner and, you know, we spend $80 on dinner between the two of us, I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like, that's, you know, that's that's more than one night at our hotel in Bali next month, you know? So you really, you want to keep your experiences. You don't want to lose your friends just because you want to, you know, save money for travel. Sorry, the sun is like beaming at me right now. So you don't want to lose your friends or anything because you're saving money for travel, but you do want to look at the money that you're spending in a different way so that you can sort of figure out how you need to prioritize your spending, if that makes sense. Okay, I've adjusted slightly so the sun is beaming me slightly less. But anyways, okay, let's see if this works. Okay, my next tip number 4, is to have a dedicated savings account for your travel. So you have your normal savings account for your normal life shit, your house, your mortgage, your car, whatever it is, your big adult purchases that you're buying. And then have a separate savings account for your travel. If you don't do this, you won't save the money to travel. You won't. And I had to learn that the hard way because I'm like, oh, I'll just travel on, you know, the money, my, you know, salary that I'm not putting to my, you know, adult savings because that's makes sense, right? Like, you know, I don't spend all of my salary every month. I'll just travel on that. Yeah, that doesn't work because the money in your bank account you somehow end up spending. It's just how we are as humans. I think you see it and you're like, oh, yeah, sure, I can go ahead and buy this. And I've been really bad about my comparisons and spending to travel lately because I haven't been traveling because of COVID. But I've done this for my Bali trip. My partner and I, we've created a joint savings account on Revolut, actually, which I will write more about Revolut in the caption down there. Fantastic. They're finally open up, like, completely to Americans. It is the best, like, little banking app I've ever used. It's kind of like Venmo or PayPal, but with better currencies. So if you work internationally or you deal a lot with traveling, this app is the app you need to get. So we have a joint Revolut vault, they call it, which is just a little savings account. And, you know, we each have $25 come out of our bank accounts automatically every week. And then, you know, when I get my salary, I put in, you know, a lump sum, so does he. And so we have a savings goal for Bali. Yeah, I set our savings goal to €5,000 in euros for Bali, which probably is a lot for Bali, but, you know, we'll ball out. We want to do like a yoga retreat and all sorts of other stuff. And we're going to go, I think, for like 2 months. But because we have that savings account, there's now an attainable goal. And instead of, like, when I book hotels, instead of spending the money from my bank account to book the hotel, I just pull it out of the Revolut vault and then I pay. So it doesn't feel like I'm spending the money, the vault is spending the money. And it's nice to have that, like, you know, that savings account to, like, go ahead and book everything and the money's there. You're not, like, draining your expenses or putting money on your credit card to then pay back off, which is what I used to do, and that just got to be a whole mess, and I got myself into a lot of trouble with that, actually. So savings account for your travels. If you don't do it, you either won't travel or you'll rack up your credit card and it'll just be a mess. Like, but you have to like set aside the money for it. You have to, or it's just not gonna happen. Number 5. Okay, so this one's a bit of a hot take, and this is what I used to do like before yachting when I was working back at home on my parents' boat. I had a dedicated side hustle where that money just went to my travel savings. So, God, the sun is just beaming me. I'm so sorry, guys. That's better a little bit. I'm like, I'm hunched over, so the sun's not blinding me, so if I sit up, oh, if I sit up, it's not. Well, because if I lean forward, it's better. Yeah, so sorry for my horrible posture, but this is how it's gonna be. Let's see. Okay. Hot take. So when I used to work back at home on my parents' boat before I started yachting, I used to have a dedicated side hustle that money just went to my travel savings. And what I did was I babysat. I worked for a nanny agency for years in college, and the nanny agency was also in Jack's Beach, where I lived, and in Saint Augustine. So I nannied, and that was my side hustle, and all that money just went to travel. And then I also dog sat, and that was really great because like nannying, you can't always, a lot of times you're needed in the day, and if you have a normal job, you can't do that. But the dog sitting is great because a lot of times people are going out of town and they want you to watch their dog for the whole week. So you're staying at somebody's house, watching their dog, taking their dog out, a couple times a day, and then spending the evenings at their house, watching their dog. And, you can make $700 in a week doing that, depending on what your price is. And I used Rover for that. I'll also link that down here. But yeah, it was a great thing. And so that $700 I just put straight into my, my travel savings account. I didn't touch it. I just acted like I didn't even have it. Because to me, it wasn't part of my job, wasn't part of my salary. It wasn't going to any of my savings. It was just travel money. So if you can get like a little side hustle or something like that, or even if you can do a little bit of PA work for somebody in the evenings, there's lots of little things you can do. Upwork is a great resource if you want to do some little extra online work. But yeah, little extra side hustle just to put that money towards your travel savings can go a long way. So number 6 is my final tip to really help you save money for travel. And it sounds so simple, but really set a budget and stick to it. I told you guys that I have my savings accounts, and when I get paid monthly. So when I get my salary every month, I put in money to my adult savings and then money into my travel savings. And from there, I have an allotted amount left. But what's left, I still don't have as my monthly budget. So my monthly budget's probably, several $100s less than that. Just so there's some extra room, because I also have, weekly deductions, my, bills and stuff like that I don't consider it, or I guess I do consider my bills into my monthly budget. But, just for other things that, could be unforeseen, and if it's, if I don't spend it, that can go into my savings additionally. One thing I have done in the past, I haven't done this in a while just because, I don't know, I just haven't, but I've done these things that I call no-spend months. I read this book on it. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the book now. Christ. I'll find it and link it below. I cannot remember the name of it. For the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it right now off the top of my head. But I read this book, and it was about how, this couple paid off, I think, like $80,000 worth of debt in 1 year. And I was like, holy shit, that's incredible. And I was like, I want to do that. And they did an entire, no-spend year. It's like, how do you not spend any money in a year? That's because they set aside money for their groceries. They had a set amount of groceries for each month. And for they made their car payment at the beginning of the year, and they spent no money for the entire year or something like that. I'm like, that's crazy. I don't do that. Sometimes I'll do a no-spend week, or I'll do a no-spend month. I've done quite a few no-spend months in my time, and that's usually right before I travel. I will spend no money, just none at all. And then a couple days before, I'll order some things that I need for my trip if I do need anything. And then I'll go and I'll have, that you feel almost more rewarded because you didn't spend any money for so long, and then you go on vacation, you're like, yes, I get to spend all the money. But yeah, so no spend months was a huge thing for me, when I wasn't quite making as much money as I am now from yachting. I think that it's a really, really hard thing to do, don't get me wrong, it is a struggle, and you really have to plan it. I did meal preps. I, bought all my groceries in advance, did all my meal prepping, at the beginning of the week. But I had like enough, by the end you're like eating beans because you can't go buy vegetables from the store. It's pretty grim, but it works. I mean, if you don't spend any money for an entire month, and that means like I went out and hung out with my friends, but didn't eat, didn't drink. Which was great for my skin and my liver also. So yeah, no spend month. If you can do it, I highly recommend it, because it's so rewarding when you're like, when you see your bank account and you're like, I haven't spent any money this month. This is awesome. Like one of those weird satisfaction things. And then yeah, I'm just always really careful not to go over on my budget. I would say about a little less than 3/4 of my salary goes into my adult savings. I keep calling it this adult savings. I'm saving to buy some property. Like, I don't know why I call it my adult savings. I guess that's like the most adult thing I can do. But yeah, so I have my adult savings, and then my travel savings, and like 3/4, probably a little less than 3/4 of my salary goes into one of those two things. And the rest is my spending money. It's, I don't want to make it sound like I have it like, like I'm like, oh, I don't spend any money, because I spend more than I should, really, on stupid shit like I mentioned earlier. But I also have it really easy, being in yachting, working and living on a yacht. The boat pays for food. I have a chef. They buy all of our toiletries and stuff for the most part. I mean, they don't buy mine, because I buy my own special crap. But like for the boys, they do. I don't ever have to worry about, buying new things for my home. They pay for, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't have to pay for utilities or rent, which is two huge expenses that most people have to pay for. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I just like, oh yes, I'm this budgeting guru, because before, when I did have to pay those things, I really did struggle. It's not an easy thing to do, to save your money, but it is possible, because I did it. And I traveled. I didn't have any adult savings though, as we say now. But I also wasn't making that much money before. So, and now I just make a normal salary, and it's very possible to do what I do. So I hope this little video helped you guys figure out, the sun is beating me again, there's nothing I can do about it if I'm squinting, I'm sorry. But I hope this video helped you guys figure out a little bit more on how to save for travel, sort of give you some ideas of what you can do to get you out there and traveling more now that the world is starting to open up thanks to COVID-19. Getting vaccinated from everybody. And if you guys need help planning your travels, I am a travel agent. I work with Explorer Tour Travel. I book, I mostly focus on honeymoons, but I book travels for solo adventures. I just booked a camper van in Iceland, all sorts of fun stuff that I can help you book. I will link that down below. If you liked this video and you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will chat to you soon.